What up, Dokkanners? We are 39 days and counting until the start of the 11th anniversary. Hopefully you guys have been saving up, Dokkanning responsibly. Today, we are going to be talking about the upcoming Dual Dokkan Festival New Year's celebration. As of right now, there has been zero hints or updates or anything on what's coming up, but do keep in mind, we do have a community fan meetup that's going to be happening in Japan in a couple of days. We are still a little bit early before the official announcement. I believe that will probably happen in a couple of days, but until then, we don't really have much else to do. This has been a very, very quiet part two. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to look at the previous years of New Year's Dual Dokkan festivals. We're going to see if we can sort of figure out some sort of a running theme or pattern between the adjacent celebrations. So adjacent meaning before the New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival and after being obviously the anniversary. Is there any sort of connective tissue, some sort of discernible pattern that we can figure out? And we're going to use that to make our predictions in this video. And then if time permits, we will also take a look at the banner. If there's not enough time for that, I'll make that a separate video. So if you guys have been enjoying the content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We are so close to the 11th anniversary, I can almost taste it. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss the shorts, the live streams, the failed attempts. I see so many comments saying, I live for the Toonels. I love watching him fail on stream. It gives me life. You want to be a part of that? Make sure you guys subscribe. Also, we do no new unit runs, all sorts of guides to keep you guys up to date so you don't miss out. All right, let's jump in. So I was looking through JP's posts from recently because there is a Jump Festa that's happening right now. I don't know if it's already concluded or if it's still going on, but it's happening in Japan, and it looks like there's nothing new coming from this, which probably makes sense considering that would defeat the purpose of this. So I don't think they want to suck the wind out of this event, because if they were to reveal what the New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival would be, then what's the point of this? Unless, of course, this is a preview for the 11th anniversary, but then if that is, then why would anybody summon for this, right? If you're trying to sell every single banner, you can't be giving away the next big thing before the first or the preceding banner comes out. So I think they're just waiting for this, and then they will actually spill the beans on the New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival. But I was looking through and I didn't see anything. They were just kind of giving out little pieces of flair and stuff. This looks cool. It looks like the number 9. Does that mean anything? Looks like 9. Okay, this is how to apply and stuff. All right, whatever. Over here, they're handing out some legend stuff. Cool, more pieces of flair. And then we got the actual venue. They're showing the Android Saga. Poor Gohan. So this is very clearly not anything new. They're just kind of showing stuff. Is that Toshi? That is Toshi, because it's Gekishin over there. That's cool. Gorsh went to this. Gorsh, Rhyme Style, and Dado, I think, all went to this. So, Desku. They also have a second fan meetup that is scheduled already, and that is for the 11th anniversary itself, but this is for part 2. So they will probably release the info for the upcoming one in a couple of days. With the October 25th having been the last one, they did drop the official... Actually, you know what? No, they dropped the first info thing 5 days before. So actually, we could potentially get some news tonight. Not actual news, but just something like this, where they say, hey, the fan meetup is coming up. But then the day before, they actually provided the link. I think that's what happened. So even more reason to get this prediction video out of the way now. So things will be winding up pretty soon. So let's just start by establishing our setup, what we're going to do here. So what we're breaking this down into are 3 sections: pre-end of 2025, end of 2025, start of 2026. So I know that this is a little odd to label it as such, but just remember, the New Year's Dual Dokkan celebration actually starts the previous year. It starts at the end of December. So that's why I'm labeling it that, just so it's easier, because start of 2026, start of any year is honestly the anniversary, right? The whole anniversary starts at the beginning of 2026. So that's where I see it. Plus, it's just easier to label. So this year's pre-end 2025, meaning the celebration that precedes the New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival, was an Android Saga one. I tried to put a theme to all of them, but there are a few that I can't quite figure out. So you guys can help me and comment down below. But this was the Android Saga, 16 the Dokkan Festival. Part 2 was Gohan Trunks. End of 2025, we'll get back to that. Start of 2026, aka the 11th anniversary. 11th Annie. Daima. Zarbon. Daima. All right, so we'll get back to that as well later on in a few weeks, probably. Let's start by looking back at last year. So last year, oh yeah, producer's letter. We'll probably get a producer's letter also, just like before. We'll get a producer's letter video or something when the thing starts. So last year, let's start with the pre-end 2025, pre-end 2024, excuse me. So we had our Tech Buhan, and then we had our part 2, which was the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It's not here, whatever, you guys remember. It was a Majin Buu Saga themed celebration. But then that doesn't quite lead into Daima, although maybe it does, because Majin Buu Saga ends, Daima begins. That's the intended timeline, because everything that happens in Daima is coming off of the heels of Goku versus Kid Buu. So that is potential connective tissue. And as you guys recall, Daima had the Dokkan Festival Mini Goku and Grodion as the summonable characters. Also want to point out something devious that these fiends did to you guys. Not only did they release the Daima Dual Dokkan Festival units for the New Year celebration, which I'm sure a lot of you guys summoned for. Then we had the 10th anniversary. Then they brought these guys back for the 10th anniversary EX. Not even, what, 2 months? Less than 2 months turnaround, and they brought them back. Bet some of y'all felt pretty cheated, huh? Yeah, this is the type of stuff that these guys will do. Anything to take your money. They even went so far as to make this the EX. That's BS. It's not EX. They labeled it as a 10th anniversary extension just to give the illusion that this is part of the celebration to get you to spend more money, but it's not. It's an entirely separate thing. Now, the celebration itself was a celebration of Dragon Ball, the 10th anniversary, celebrating Dragon Ball, celebrating Dokkan. This one's kind of a pretty major milestone, so it's hard to use this as precedent, but I mean, we're gonna try anyway. So it spans Z, Dragon Ball, Super, GT, and if you want to include it, it would also include Daima by extension. So I guess in terms of that, you could argue that there's some sort of a connection, but looking back at all three, I don't know if that is enough to say, okay, there is some like significant through line here. It's just, I don't see it. Mainly this. I mean, we don't have to necessarily focus on that. We can just fixate on these two. This one, there is sort of a canonical progression between Majin Buu Saga and Daima, so I guess there's that. So that being said, does that lead us to potentially a Namek Saga coming up next for 2025? Because we had Android Saga. What comes after Android Saga? Not Namek Saga, am I stupid? That's the other way. Majin Buu Saga. That's what I meant, my bad. Do you think we're gonna be getting a Majin Buu Saga New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival? What if we get Kid Buu and Goku again? I'm gonna laugh if that happens. So anyway, that is a look back at 2024/2025. So now let's move on to the next section. And surprisingly, back in 2023, before it became 2024, our pre-end of 2023, we had a Dragon Ball FighterZ crossover celebration. And this was actually where Global and JP, this was pre-full synchro, actually had a simultaneous celebration. And so we had our Android 21 Dokkan Festival for part 1. And then the part 2 was the LR Super Saiyan Trio fighting Android 13. So in terms of a theme here, it could be sort of like a battle with the androids. And so part 1 is sort of the android side, and then the part 2 is fighting the androids. Something, I don't know. But as far as it being like all part of one movie or something like that, no, right? This one is non-canon in the conventional sense. This one is just outright non-canon altogether because it's from a game. It has nothing to do with any of the movies and stuff. So there was that. It's been a while. I forgot that this was a thing, but yeah, Super Saiyan Trio. Oh yeah. Okay. Then we go into New Year's 2024. So the end of 2023. This was where we had a Wrath of the Dragon movie with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Kabuterimon as our dual Dokkan festivals. So there is a bit of connective tissue there where it's sort of a movie, next to a movie. We had Android 13 in the pre-end 2023. Then we had Hirudegarn and Wrath of the Dragon for end of 2023. And then going into the 9th anniversary, it's even more movies. So this one feels a lot more tangible. Like this is a pretty significant chunk of time all dedicated to movies. And then we had Superhero for part 2. We had Broly for part 1. So Gogeta, Broly. Broly was the Dokkan Festival. Gogeta was the Carnival. And then for part 2, it was Beast Gohan, the actual Beast Gohan Dokkan Festival. Gamma's part 2. So this one, what does that mean? What does that potentially mean for 2025? Well, what if all of it is just Android Saga? Do you think that they would go as far as to make the entire celebration sort of just one thing? This isn't a movie. Even Gohan Trunks, the history of Trunks is not technically a movie, but more so just like, what if we stay in the same saga for multiple celebrations? Do you think that that would be an enjoyable celebration? It would definitely be a good one in terms of team building, because you would be getting more than enough support for androids in the Android Cell Saga, probably Saiyans in the Android Cell Saga, maybe some sort of a combination, maybe, yeah, I mean, artificial life forms. There'd be a lot of stuff to gain from it, but that might be a lot to cover just one arc between 3 celebrations, let alone the biggest one. So food for thought there. Now we move back to 2022, and this is where it gets harder to find stuff because I think the new Dokkan Wiki only goes as far as 2022. So I went back here. This one was crazy. And this is one of the many examples of Dokkan having a part 1 have nothing to do with part 2. So looking back here, just looking based on this, can you guys pause and tell me, do you remember what this was? Pause, go ahead. Oh, welcome back. All right, so looking back at this, part 2 was Hachiyak Goku. That's right, Hachiyak Goku, you know, from Raging Blast. Yeah, that guy. And it was just Goku, but it had the team of Z fighters in there. And then you'll never guess what part 1 was. Can you figure out part 1 based on that? If you just think, what would a respective part 1 be to a part 2 Hachiyak Goku? Oh yeah, it's Yamcha. Who would have thought? I mean, obviously, it's so obvious, right? Yeah, Yamcha was part 1 and Hachiyak Goku was part 2. What the hell kind of theme was that? Was there any? I have no idea. If you guys remember, do let me know. But that's wild. Yamcha part 1. The team of the bond of friendship? I don't know. So yeah, Yamcha going into Hachiyak Goku. That was pre-end 2022. The end of 2022, and probably the biggest, one of the most hype reveals ever before we learned what happened, was the end of the superhero ongoing series. There was a running superhero celebration that was happening throughout the year that was wreaking havoc on the sacred timeline and predictions because they were shoving it in different spots. But we finally got part 4 for the superhero where we actually got the new summonable LRs. And this was the New Year's Dual Dokkan Festival LR, Gohan and Piccolo. And for the smallest amount of time, we were all so happy because we thought it was going to be a beast Gohan, because this art is honestly phenomenal. Love it. And then we learned that it was just an active skill. And that was just, that was a lot of fun. And I wonder how they must have felt when they saw our reaction to it. But yeah, this was fun. This was a culmination of 3 other parts. This was part 4 of the superhero thing. I believe part 3 happened around Halloween, where they shoehorned in a dual Dokkan Festival, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. And then they had a couple of other celebrations minus summons throughout the year. And this was the previous time that they had done this sort of thing. The more recent time being the Daima one. Daima was also a culmination of multiple parts. This is part 2, I think. Oh, I guess it was only 2 parts. No, there was whatever. So they've done this before, and that was for superhero. This one was for Daima. 2 major releases that we've had recently. And then going back to the 8th anniversary, I don't actually remember what the theme was. I know that when they break down these celebrations in those like Dokkan Directs, they actually give us like the name. Like the 10th anniversary one, they called it Tenkamuso, Going Beyond the Limit, or some generic crap. I don't know. I don't know what they actually called this one, but I would like to think that the theme is just Genki Dama, right? It's just the Spirit Bomb. Because we had End of Z, End of GT, Spirit Bomb, and then part 2 was the Z Fighters and the Kai Fighters. These guys are up for EZAs in about a month, so that's something to look forward to. But this was the celebration for 8th anniversary. If you guys remember what the technical theme was, do let me know. What the heck sort of through line is there for this? What sort of connective tissue can we potentially figure out from all of this? I have no idea. I don't know what the theme is for Yamcha. Yamcha Hachiyak Goku makes no sense. Superhero, okay, it's a movie. Also, you know, kind of close to the release of Superhero. When did Superhero come out? I don't even remember anymore. Mid 2022? Started 2023, 8th anniversary, Spirit Bomb Z, Spirit Bomb GT. That has nothing to do with this, right? Because Superhero happens after the end of Super. Super happens after the end of Z, so there's nothing there. Yamcha and Superhero, there's nothing. I feel like this is just nonsense. If you're trying to figure out a pattern, there's nothing. So now if we go back to 2025, what if we get Android Cell Saga for pre-end of 2025? What if the end of 2025 is, I don't know, Farmer with Shotgun? You know, I'm just something random, right? Like, what if it's Dragon Ball Saga? What if it's Demon King Piccolo and friends? And then start of 2026, the 11th anniversary is Garlic Jr. They have nothing to do with one another. That could work. Or maybe, you know what? No, they'll do some special Sparking Zero celebration with a bunch of what ifs. That's even more random. Could it be something like that? That's probably a safer bet. If you just guess on something random, chances are you'll potentially get it. So there's that. Our last section that was very difficult to find, and I don't want to go further because it's very hard to do, is back at the end of 2021. So pre-end of 2021, if you guys want to make your guesses, you can pause and let me know. Do you remember what the pre-2021 end celebration was? November 30th, 2021. Pause and let me know. Welcome back. It was the tech androids. Tech androids came out. This is all, by the way, through the lens of JP. We can't use global because global's timeline is all screwed up. JP got the tech androids at the end of the pre-end of 2021. Tech androids came out then. And then guess what the part 2 was? That's right. It was the AGL Gohan. Oh, it's not here. Okay. It was the AGL Gohan Trunks. And I love how this is the cover art for it. God Goku. And then Goten. Goten is there. And then, yeah, this was the release of the part 2 Gohan Trunks, both of which got their EZAs. We're very happy about. Both are monsters. So, okay. Android Cell Saga sort of coming back full circle here. That was pre-end 2021. The end of 2021 going into the new year. You'll never guess what it is based on this image. You still will never guess based on any of this. Nope, you still won't. Oh, you might start to figure it out now. Yep, it is Kid Buu, Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3 Goku. This was the last Kid Buu release that we have had in Dokkan. Isn't that awesome? And then the 7th anniversary was, I don't remember the technical term, but it was Fusion. It was Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta. Part 2 was Saiyan Saga. So I don't know what that was. Is it something like Battle of Fate something maybe? But yeah, this was my favorite celebration. I think probably looking back at everything, this was probably my favorite. I was beyond moved when I saw the active skill for the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I teared up a little bit because I love that so much. But yeah, this was the 7th anniversary, and this was one of the best celebrations recorded in Dokkan history. There are a few others, like the cooler one. I'm not saying that others are not. I'm just saying that this is one of the best, and if not my favorite. So there you go. What sort of connective tissue can we take from that? What indeed? Android Saga, Buu Saga, GT, Broly. I mean, here there's the canonical progression again, right? Sort of. Although this is more so, you know, old school Android Saga, because this, well, not old school, but this is like alternate future Android Saga. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't want to say, no, it's not, it's technically not canon, right? Because we don't live in a world where Goku's dead and everybody's dead. Well, Goku dies all the time. You know what I mean? Buu Saga here, and then 7th anniversary. I don't see it. I don't know. Maybe a Battle of Fate. I mean, this is Battle of Fate. These guys are fighting their respective monsters, right? So Battle of Fate, maybe. I got nothing. So in a sense, we have no clue what's coming up. I didn't have to make this whole video, but hey, I got to pay the bills. So what can we potentially use as ammunition to predict the next Dual Dokkan Festival? Nothing. I have zero clue. So what can we say? I'm going to go ahead and just say Namek Saga. Namek Saga. Why? Because Zarbon. Literally, I have no other reason. Besides that, what do I want? Anything that we haven't had. I would want a Dragon Ball Saga. I know a lot of y'all hate it, but I want it. Damn it, I want a good functioning Demon King Piccolo unit. I want a summonable Demon King Piccolo. Can we do that? God, my hands are huge. Demon King Piccolo. That would be cool. What else do I want? I want a Garlic Jr., damn it. I want a Garlic Jr. Dokkan Festival. Give me Garlic Jr. Make Garlic Jr. a Dokkan Festival summon. And then dude, give us Kaioken Chi-Chi. Am I just going off the rails now? Kaioken Chi-Chi, sure. You could give us, you know what? We could finally get that EZA for that LR Int Goku Piccolo, because there's been something weird in the data for that unit for years now, and it still hasn't amounted to anything. And a lot of people have been holding on to that, using it as speculation for various things, but it hasn't happened. So let's pay off that weird asset upgrade with the LR Int Goku Piccolo so that we can finally put an end to this. Give us a good, solid, summonable Garlic Jr. to link up with the new Battlefield Garlic Jr. and Goma. I don't want it to be Daima. I don't need Daima unless they give us Do and Ku, which then leads into 11th anniversary adult Saiyans. If they do this, aka what they did sort of here, well, kind of. Where's the last example where it kind of leads into it? Maybe it's something like this. No, actually, none of these really work. I don't know, man. Just give me. Otherwise, see, I'm going to be very upset If they give us Daima for the 11th anniversary and it's these boys instead of the adult Saiyans, like imagine the backlash for an LR Majin and LR Majin Buu. Unless they make these banner units. If they're banner units, I'll let it slide. But they cannot be headliner pieces for a marquee celebration like the 11th anniversary. Can't do it. It's got to be Goku. It's got to be Vegeta. They have to be involved. Don't forget that. No matter what happens every anniversary, there is always some form of Goku and or Vegeta present in the celebration. Lately, it's gotten more diluted, but it used to be where every other year it would be a fusion or a union of Goku Vegeta versus the alternate years where it would be Goku and Vegeta separately. But since they've sort of burned out that pattern, they have now started to integrate new things. 9th anniversary, we do have the union of Goku and Vegeta present in one piece. The other four or the other three are different characters. Back for the 8th anniversary, it was Goku and Vegeta working separately, not as a union. But before that, it was Goku and Vegeta working as a union. For the 10th anniversary, it is Goku and Vegeta working as a union again. So now it's kind of broken the pattern. But as long as Goku and Vegeta are involved in some way, that's all that needs to happen for the anniversaries moving forward. So if they want to do Do and Ku, just make sure it doesn't take away from these boys. It's got to be them. And that's my TED Talk. I'm done. We'll talk about banners in another video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like down below. Let in the comments your thoughts on what possible pattern can we take away from 2025 going into 2026 for the 11th anniversary celebration. What are your final predictions? Honestly, for me, it's either Daima, Do and Ku, or Namek Saga, just because random. I got nothing. Let me know your thoughts and reasons in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll know you want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned and remember to Dokkan responsibly.